Hey there, everybody. I hope you're having a nice day. I've been having a very good day. I have an orange tree outside, and because it's spring, it's starting to have a bunch of orange blossoms, and it smells so good. And it's just lovely to be outside because everywhere you go, the weather is perfect. The breeze hits you just right. It smells good everywhere you go, and it's just a good time. It's just a good time of the year. I love this time of the year. And then I love summer because of um, the jasmine, and just it smells so good outside. Anyway, I was talking to my mom a couple of days ago, more like over a week ago, about the current state of the world and the current state of America, and how the guy in the White House is just engaging in some very erratic behavior, and how that's super frustrating. I was like, Mom, I just can't deal with this anymore. Where is the next place to go? Where is the next America? Where is the next land of opportunity? Where is the next American dream going to be? What country is going to offer that American dream? Because as you may know, America used to be the land of opportunity, and a land where you could come here and not fear any kind of persecution, or you could express yourself, although that was not true to the fullest extent, because there was still censorship, right? And there was still discrimination against the Irish, against the Jewish community, the Polish, right? And obviously, African Americans, segregation, the Jim Crow laws, all of that, right? Um, and so it wasn't perfect, but people could actually start a new life in a land that would give them a better opportunity than where they came from, right? In many cases. And this was the place where the American dream, you can achieve the American dream, and the American dream was being able to express yourself freely, being able to live freely, and being able to have everything you need, have a comfortable life, and being able to support and provide for your family. And the ideal American dream would be having a house, having 2 kids, a dog, and a good job that would be able to support you and your family. And to a certain extent, that dream was true in the 50s. It did realize itself in the 50s, although there were still problems like segregation, the Jim Crow laws were still in place, the Cold War was going on, the Korean War, and then a few years later, the Vietnam War, right? And so there were a lot of problems, but people could get by with the cost of living. And then in the 70s, it all changed, right? Because of the rising interest rates, and the cost of living got higher, and housing prices got higher, and then it leveled out in the 90s, and then in 2001, it all started to go downhill, and we've been going downhill ever since, right? And then the recession hit in 2008, and we haven't really recovered. We were starting to recover, but then COVID happened, and then, the rest is history. Anyway, I was complaining. I was being a little girl with my mom. You know how you can kind of show your childish behaviors with your parents, even when you're an adult, because they're the only ones that are going to take that, and hopefully, if you've got supportive parents, they'll listen to you and just, give you advice maybe. But anyway, I have that kind of relationship with my mother. And I was just like, Mom, I just can't stand the guy in the White House, and it's just too much. And where can I go? Where is the next place to go? Where is the next land of opportunity? Where is the next America? what country is going to offer the next American dream? And she said, Megan, there's no such thing as an American dream, or a French dream, or an Italian dream, or an Australian dream, or an English dream, or a Portuguese dream. Every country has its struggles, its challenges, and its systems that are not perfect. And wherever you go, you're going to have to navigate those challenges and deal with them. And that got me thinking. I was like, Mom, you're right. For the first time. I'm just kidding. It got me thinking, and I was like, yeah, she's right. There's no such thing as an Italian dream or a French dream or a Spanish dream or an English dream or an Australian dream, because all of these countries, even a Danish dream, right? And they are like the epitome of democracy, and a lot of their systems are really good, like their healthcare system, paternity leave, maternity leave. They have many systems that are really good for their citizens, but they still have issues with the cost of living. People are moving out, the aging population, right? And they're also not very immigrant friendly. And every country has its struggles. Every country has its challenges, and wherever you go, you're going to have to navigate those challenges. There's no system in the world. There's no system that is perfect, right? And some countries have better systems than others, right? And that's a fact. But they still have their challenges, and they still have their downsides. And you just have to live with the downsides and learn to navigate those downsides. And it's kind of like life, right? You're never going to have a perfect life. Maybe you have a really good relationship with your partner, or you have a house, but you have terrible health, right? And maybe your friend has got optimal health, but she's got relationship issues, and maybe she still is struggling to find a career. I don't know, but nobody has a life that is devoid of struggles, right? And of course, like I said, there are certain countries that have systems that are way better than others, and I do think that certain countries in Europe and Australia have better systems than some of the programs that we have here in America, right? And I do think that they do it better, but also that's an unfair comparison, because these countries have fewer people. They're smaller. I mean, Australia is not small, but they do have fewer people. The state of California has more people than the country of Australia, right? And so naturally, a country that is so big and so vast, such as the US, and has so many people, is going to have issues with implementing policies that everybody agrees on, or that most people agree on. And the problem with this country, and it's not a problem, but it's just the way things are, is that every state that you go to is so different. It's like being in a different country. Even the liberal states, or the blue states, right? The states that usually vote blue, say, I go to Oregon or I go to Washington. These are states that are as blue as they can get, although outside of certain urban counties, there are a lot of red counties in those states. But anyway, they always vote blue. They're always more, or and it's not about Democrat or Republican, of course. It's just like they're more they have more liberal perspectives, right? And points of view. But even when I go to Oregon, or I go to Washington, or I go to New York, the people are so different, and their way of thinking is very different. And I imagine even when I go to a different city here in California, when I was in Inyo County is a red county, and it's so different than, it's like a different country when you go to Inyo County. And so what I'm trying to say is that naturally, because of such diversity, it's going to be hard to come to a consensus about anything. And of course, what's happening right now with the Orange Man is, it's never been seen before, I can tell you that. It's never been witnessed by the American system, at least. And so I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if things are going to get worse, and my hunch is that they will. We're going to hit rock bottom. But just like Germany, just like Italy, these countries hit rock bottom. And Italy is not a good example today, of course, but Germany is. These are countries, Germany, France is a really good example. These are countries that hit rock bottom. England, countries that hit rock bottom, but then they bounced back eventually. It took them years and years and years and years and years, but look at Germany now. It's the third largest economy in the world. Nobody would have thought of that back in World War I. Nobody would have thought, oh my God, Germany will be the third largest economy in 100 years. Nobody would have even believed that because of the state of how things were back in the day, right? And I think that's going to happen with America. And I think we're going to hit rock bottom, and we're going to see the lowest of lows, and we may not be the most influential or powerful economy in the world anymore, but we will still be a country that is relevant to international politics, because we have a lot of resources. There is a lot of investment here. America is all about, the mentality is all about innovation, innovation, innovation. Japan is also an example of this. South Korea is an example of this. They hit rock bottom. I mean, South Korea is not a good example right now because of everything that's going on, but Japan is a really good example of a country that hit rock bottom and is now starting to flourish, right? And, you know, they still have their issues with the aging population and the cost of living being very high, but look where they are now, right? Guyana, nobody even knows where that is. I mean, I'm sure people that know basic geography know where Guyana is, but this is a country that will be a superpower in 10 years, in a decade from now. Vietnam, I was there over 2 years ago, and this is a country that hit rock bottom and is now starting to flourish. It's actually a country that I can see it growing, and I can see it being a superpower. Maybe not the most powerful economy, but definitely up there in the next 10 years. Malaysia is another country. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, we will hit rock bottom, but we will bounce back. And we may not bounce back in the same way and we may not be the most powerful economy or the richest country. That may not be the case anymore. Maybe China becomes the richest country, but we'll still be relevant. We'll still have an economy that is powerful and influential. when it comes to making international policies or just politics in general. So don't lose out hope. We're going to hit rock bottom, but hey, we have each other, so we're going to get through it. And to the rest of the world, people that don't live in America, hang in there. And I'm sorry about whatever is going on and whatever the guy in the White House is doing that is affecting your country. I'm really sorry about that. Can't do anything about it. Just wait it out. Peace and love. Bye.